Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Gravenstein. Chapter 31. So, does anybody have a clue as to why we're supposed to find this book? Asked Kyle. He and his teammates were back in the young adult room, staring at the cover of Get to Know Your Local Library. Too early to tell, said Miguel. Let's keep playing. The book will probably make more sense once we get into the other rooms and pick up more clues. Whose turn is it? Asked Akimi. Yours, said Kyle. Flick the spinner. Akimi finger kicked the plastic pointer. Purple, she yelled when the arrow slid to a stop. The 800s. That means you move 8 spaces, mumbled Kyle. Except today. Akimi reached for the card on top of the purple stack. When she saw what was written on it, she frowned. What's the clue? Asked Kyle. Something about literature, rhetoric, or criticism, asked Miguel. Nope, said Akimi. It's a wild card with a riddle. Read it, said Sierra. I rhyme with dart and Cracker Jacks. Visit me and find a rhyme for Andy. Peckelman? Said Kyle. How'd he get his name on a game card? Bro, said Miguel. Nobody calls Andrew Peckelman Andy. Of course, it could mean Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States. Or Andy Panda, said Akimi. Or Andrew Carnegie, said Sierra. He was a generous supporter of the libraries. Okay, said Kyle, let's concentrate on the first part of the riddle. What rhymes with dart and Cracker Jacks? Smart and heart attacks, suggested Miguel. Art and bric-a-bracs, said Sierra. Art and artifacts, said Akimi, nailing it. They hurried over to the art and artifacts room. Everybody, check out the display cases, said Kyle. See if anything rhymes with the word Andy. Well, this model of the old bank building is certainly Grandy, said Miguel, and the Pharaoh's Pyramid and Sphinx would be Sandy if they weren't made out of Legos. True, said Kyle, sounding unconvinced about both. Check it out, you guys, cried Akimi, who was studying a row of styrofoam heads sporting hats. This plaid fedora from 1968 was worn by a guy named Leopold Loblolly. So, said Kyle, according to this plaque, Loblolly was one of the notorious Dandy Bandits. Dandy rhymes with Andy. That it does, said Miguel. However, Loblolly does not. Neither does Leopold, added Kyle. Candy rhymes with Andy, said Sierra. She was staring at the objects in a display case under a banner reading, Welcome to the wonderful world of Willy Wonka. Awesome, said Miguel, hurrying over to admire the collection of everlasting gobstoppers, glumptious glob gobblers, Laffy Taffy, and pixie sticks displayed under glass in a sea of purple velvet. Mr. Lemoncello is a lot like Willy Wonka, said Kyle. You mean crazy, said Akimi. I prefer the term eccentric. And Dr. Zinchenko is his Oompa Loompa, said Sierra. Everybody started giggling. Nah, Akimi joked. She's too tall. And not nearly orange enough, said Miguel. The Willy Wonka book was written by Roald Dahl, said Sierra, who Kyle figured could name 12 other books the guy wrote too. In it, Mr. Wonka takes Charlie and Grandpa Joe home in a flying glass elevator that crashes through the roof of his chocolate factory. Everybody thought about that for a second. So now we have to find a glass elevator, said Akimi, because there isn't one on the floor plan. But Mr. Lemoncello is just wild enough to build one, said Kyle, and if he did, he probably wouldn't put it on the floor plan. No way, said Miguel. Everybody would want to ride in it. I know I would, said Sierra. So we're seriously searching for a secret glass elevator, said Akimi. Maybe, said Kyle. Maybe not. This is just another piece of a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. We won't see the whole picture until we collect all the pieces. Or someone shows us the box lid, cried Akimi. Boys and girls, do you ever do that when you're doing a puzzle? You set the box lid up so you can look at it as you're trying to piece together the puzzle. I do that. I don't think I can do a puzzle without it. Look, it's only 6 p.m., said Kyle, and we're collecting a ton of good information. You mean a ton of random information, said Akimi. Well, said Miguel, once we have more clues, we can use Sherlock Holmes' famous deductive reasoning method to make logical connections between all this random junk. Works for me, said Kyle, but if we're going to play Sherlock Holmes, we need to go spin the spinner and dig up more clues. The game's afoot, said Sierra. Huh? Kyle and Akimi said together. Sorry, it's just something Sherlock says to Watson whenever he gets excited. Sherlock Holmes. Kyle had just found another bunch of books to add to his reading list. Chapter 32. Okay, Sierra, said Kyle, your turn. Sierra flicked the spinner. The pointy tip ended up in the yellow 200 zone, so she went ahead and pulled a yellow card. It's definitely for the 200 section, she said, showing her clue to Miguel before revealing it to Kyle and Akimi. Weird, said Miguel. What? Said Akimi before Kyle could. Well, the 200s are where they keep books on world religions. But there are 2 numbers on this card, said Sierra. Maybe this time we need to find 2 books, suggested Kyle. I don't know, said Sierra, studying her card. 220.5203 is obviously a call number. Obviously, said Akimi, but this other number isn't in the proper format. 2/2015. February 20th, 2015, said Akimi. Quick, what happened on that date? Nobody knows, said Kyle, because it hasn't happened yet. Oh, right. Okay. How about February 20th, 1915? That was the opening day of the Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco, said Sierra. Jaws dropped. Sorry, I'm a big World's Fair fan. Everybody else just nodded. Finally, Miguel spoke up. Look, let's just go down to the 200s room and find 220.5203. We can figure out the second chunk later. The team once again trooped down the stairs to the second floor and worked their way around the circular balcony. You guys, said Sierra, looking across the atrium at the statues, remember how they switched all the hologram authors when Bridget Wage did her extreme challenge? Yep, said Kyle. She was doing good till she got to the Russian dude. What Russian dude? Asked Miguel, who hadn't witnessed Bridget's elimination. Guy who wrote 5 or 6 books Sierra could tell you about. But look, said Sierra, now all the author statues are the same ones they were last night. So, said Kyle thoughtfully, if they can switch them around, these must be clues for our game, blurted Akimi. She pulled out a pen and her notepad. I'll write down their names. Start with the guy under the 000 wedge of the Wonder Dome, said Kyle. Right. Akimi read the labeled pedestals and jotted down all the authors' names. Thomas Wolfe, Booker T. Washington, Stephen Sondheim, George Orwell, Lewis Carroll, Dr. Seuss, Maya Angelou, Shel Silverstein, Pseudonymous Bosch, and Todd Strasser. So, said Akimi when she'd finished writing, do you think this game could get any more complicated? Maybe, said Kyle. It's possible that Mr. Lemoncello left a couple of different paths to the same solution. Well, personally, I can only take one path at a time, said Akimi, so let's go find 220 point whatever. Should be in the next row of bookcases, said Miguel. Here we go, 220.5203, the King James Bible. Achterieber, an excellent choice, said a man with a thick German accent. The 4 teammates spun around, and they were face to face with a semi-transparent guy in medieval garb with a fur-trimmed cap and a beard that looked like 2 raccoon tails sewn together under his nose and chin. I am Johann Gajamflesch zur Laden zum Gutenberg, said the holographic image, who had ink stains all over his fingertips. You created the Gutenberg Bibles on your printing press, gushed Sierra. Yeah, big bestseller. You need help with the Bible? I am at your service, he bowed. Okay, said Akimi, turning to Miguel. Take it away, Miguel. Gutenberg, sir, we were looking for 22015. Das ist Affenek. Huh? That is easy. 22015 is Exodus, chapter 20, verse 15. Of course, said Miguel. Exodus is the second book of the Bible. 20 and 15 are the chapter and verse. He flipped through some pages. Here we go. Exodus chapter 20, verse 15. It's one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not steal. Chapter 33. Let's put 2 new cards on the table, said Charles. He and his so-called teammates, Andrew and Haley, Charles planned on dumping them both right before he made his glorious solo exit from the library, had scoured the library together for hours looking for more book cover matches. Packelman wasn't nearly as good with the Dewey Decimal System as he claimed to be, and Charles needed someone to do that sort of thing for him. His father always hired tutors or research assistants for him whenever Charles had to do a major paper or a report. Finally, around 6 in, coincidentally, in the 600s room, they scored twice, finding T for you and me, 641.3372, and Y weight to lose weight, 613.2522. Now their picture puzzle had only 4 blanks remaining. Here are some clues. So they have sheep, they have a missing card, maybe walk or crossing, umpire or out, tea, he, scale, missing, so they're missing 4. Okay, said Andrew, I think it's pretty clear. Woolly, blank, walk up the skinny, blank, blank, house, Indian, and 19, blank. Charles nodded and said, interesting, even though he knew Puckelman was way off. Hello, said Haley, that doesn't make any sense. Sure it does, said Andrew. No, it doesn't. In his head, Charles had decoded the clues so far. You, a female sheep, blank, walk out the T plus H plus E way. So you walk out T the way. Blank, blank, in past blank. But out loud he said, I think we just need to tweak Andrew's translation a little. Fine, go ahead. I don't care. Andrew slumped down into his seat to sulk. How about she blank walks out the skinny blank blank house 500 and past blank? Where'd you get she? Asked Haley. From sheep, the card you gave us. Actually, I think the sheep is supposed to represent you because a ewe is a female sheep. Fascinating, said Charles. I didn't figure that out. He's sneaky, isn't he, you guys? What he did figure out was that Haley Daly was much smarter than he had assumed. She could be a serious threat, and no way was Charles sharing his prize with anybody, especially Haley. And how did you get 500 from Indiana, she asked. Simple. Indianapolis, the capital of Indiana, is home to a race known as the Indy 500. Okay, so how about you blank, walk out the skinny blank blank in, because the Nancy Drew book was about an in, 500 pass or past blank. Now Peckelman piped up. That makes more sense than what you said, Charles. Indeed, said Charles, sounding magnanimous. Perhaps the clues are telling us to locate a secret skinny passageway 500 paces past some landmark here in the library. Andrew was excited. This is like the pirate map from Treasure Island. Or, said Haley, maybe these clues are telling us we need to go out and find 4 books we haven't found yet. We should split up. I'll go back to the 400s room. We've already been there, said Andrew. Well, you guys might have missed something. Good idea, said Charles. He figured if Haley Daly wasted time retracing steps that he and Andrew had already taken, she'd find nothing new and become less of a threat. Let's meet back here at, say, 7. Fine. Haley left the meeting room. Charles went to the door and closed it. You know what we really need? He said to Andrew. Chocolate milk and maybe some cookies? Charles shook his head. No, Andrew, we need whatever clues Kyle Keeley and his team had found, especially if they have our missing cards. Chapter 34. Veering left the instant she reached the second floor, Haley made toward her 400s room. She figured that Charles and Andrew had probably missed something important in the foreign languages room because they spent too much time talking to these awesome mannequins that told them all about their American heritage. As she rounded the bend, Haley saw Kyle Keeley and his crew tumble out of the 200s room. It looked like Miguel was carrying a Bible, but a Bible wasn't one of the books on display in the staff picks case. We're following separate paths to the same goal, Haley thought, and somewhere, 2 paths are going to collide. Haley slid her card key down the reader slot in the 400s door. The light clicked and she pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit. bienvenue, viti, Carabishia, welcome, voice from the ceiling speakers. Sorry, Haley, blindly feeling her way forward and into something hard and lumpy. This is the fourth room with languages. Haley, all about your American heritage. A bank sites fun. Was basically hugging instrument Stronican. Overhead Dr. Dummy to her left turned into a person who looked Haley would look years after she graduated from college. Hello, welcome to your American speak your voice. That's okay. I don't have time now. Daily. My ancestors were Irish, okay? So can we skip the history? Suddenly, the two mannequins turned in Cephia, her great-great-great-grandmother, and her great-great-great-grandfather. Haley knew it was them because her dad had a bunch of old photographs in their family room. The two dummies looked exactly like Patrick and Una Daly did in their wedding portrait. No man ever wore his daughter's arm around his neck, said Peck in his brogue. They're proud of you, Haley. You really need to win this competition. Watch out for snarky rascals, said Una. Them that would steal the sugar out of your punch. A smile. It sounded like her ancestor had met Charles Chiltington. Always remember, said her great-great-grandfather, every woman's mind is her kingdom. Rule it wisely, lassie. I'm trying. This library can help, said her great-great-great-grandmother with a wink. And when she did, a secret panel in the wall slid open. What's going on? Said Haley. You're our third visitor, boomed the jolly announcer in the ceiling. So, according to the American Heritage Dictionary of Idioms, available in our reference department, by the way, the third time is a charm. Therefore, as our third visitor, you have won this charming bonus. 2 bonuses in one day? She was right. Mr. Lemoncello definitely wanted Haley Daly to win this game because clearly he knew she'd be the perfect, best-looking spokesmodel for his holiday commercials. Don't worry, sir, Haley said to the nearest camera. I won't let you down. She hurried through the open wall panel and into the 300s room on the other side. Ta-da! The first thing she saw was one of the books they'd been searching for all day long, True Crime Ohio, the Buckeye State's most notorious brigands, burglars, and bandits by Claire Taylor Winters. She quickly opened the cover and found the hidden 4x4 card. It took her 2 seconds to decipher the clue. Bandits. Haley remembered another bit of Irish wisdom, something her dad had said all the time. Never bolt your door with a boiled carrot. She decided to keep this new clue secret and secure. She wouldn't share it with Charles or Andrew. Haley took off her left sneaker, folded the card in half, and slid the clue into her shoe for safekeeping. When her sneak was laced up tight again, she took the True Crime Ohio book off its display stand and tucked it into the bookshelf, making sure it was in the proper position, right between 364.1091 and 364.1093. That way, she'd know where to find it if, for whatever reason, she needed the book again. Haley looked up at the nearest camera and flashed it her brightest toothpaste commercial smile. Go Lemoncello! That's a cheer I just made up. We can use it in one of the commercials. After I win. Chapter 35. Entrance to Community Meeting Room B will only be granted to Kyle Keeley, Sierra Russell, Akimi Hughes, and Miguel Fernandez, said the soothing female voice in the ceiling after the 4 teammates had swiped their cards through the meeting room's door reader slot. This makes sense, said Akimi. We need a place to organize all this material, put it on the walls, and draw a chart like the FBI always does on TV when they're trailing the mob. Stole the meeting room idea from me, eh, Keeley? Charles Chiltington was standing in the doorway to a meeting room A on the far side of the rotunda. No, said Kyle, we just needed some place to throw our victory party after we win. Not gonna happen, Charles said smugly. Must I remind you, I'm a Chiltington. We never lose. And he disappeared back into meeting room A. After Charles was gone, Kyle led his team into meeting room B. Miguel posted the bank blueprints he had found up on the walls, while Sierra set up the Bibliomania game board on the conference table. I'm glad this room won't let anybody else in, said Kyle. And by anybody, you mean Charles Chiltington, right? said Akimi. Totally. Akimi grabbed a marker and wrote a neat outline on the dry erase boards. Clues so far. Definite clues. 1. From the 000's room, get to know your local library book. 2. From the Art and Artifacts room, Willy Wonka candy rhymes with Andy, find the glass elevator. 3. From the 200's room, Bible verse, thou shalt not steal. Probably clues. Books authors on the backs of library cards. 1. Miguel Fernandez's card. Incident at Hawks Hill by Alan W. Eckert and No David by David Shannon. 2. Akimi Hughes. One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish by Dr. Seuss. And 9 stories by J.D. Salinger. Number 3. Unknown. Number 4. Bridget Wage. Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Number 5. Sierra Russell. The Egypt Game by Zilpha Keatley Snyder. And The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. 6. Yasmin Smith Snyder. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. The Yak Who Yelled Yuck by Carol Pugliano Martin. Number 7. Sean Keegan. Olivia by Ian Falconer. Unreal by Paul Jennings. Number 8. Unknown. Number 9. Rose Vermette. All of a Kind Family by Sidney Taylor. And Scat by Carl Hyacin. 10. Kayla Corson. Anna to the Infinite Power by Mildred Ames. And Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. Number 11, Unknown. And number 12, Kyle Keeley. I Love You, Stinky Face by Lisa McCourt. And The Napping House by Audrey Wood. Maybe clues. Statues ringed around the dome. Thomas Wolfe, Booker T. Washington, Stephen Sondheim, George Orwell, Lewis Carroll, Dr. Seuss, Maya Angelou, Shel Silverstein, Pseudonymous Bosch, and Todd Strasser. Wow, said Akimi, stepping back to study the walls. What an incredible mess. Yeah, said Kyle. Okay, you guys, there are 8 more book rooms to explore, and who knows how many more wild cards. Whose turn is it? Yours, said Sierra. Kyle flicked the spinner. Green, the 500 Science. He pulled the first green card from the deck. 4 and 20 were once in a pie. 598.367 might tell you why. Blackbird, said Miguel. I guess. Well, sighed Akimi, let's go check out another book. There's still like an inch or two left on our whiteboard. The 500s room was like a miniature museum of natural history. In addition to towering walls of books, there was a whole planetarium of stars and constellations projected on the ceiling. Models of planets whirled in their orbits. Sparkle-tailed comets shot around the corners of bookshelves. Kyle and his teammates made their way back to the 590s. Zoology. Shelving units were arranged in a square around an open area, maybe 20 feet by 20 feet wide. When the team entered the empty space, the lights dimmed and a guy with long wavy hair who looked like an artistic Daniel Boone faded into view. He was wearing some kind of bear fur coat and toting a musket. Bonjour, said the hologram. It's John James Audubon, said Sierra, the famous ornithologist. He gives people braces, said Kyle. No, said Sierra with a laugh. He studied and painted birds. A blackbird with a yellow beak flew into the open area and roosted on a tree branch. The bird and the tree were both holograms, too. This beautiful blackbird from Alexandriaville, Ohio, said the semi-transparent Audubon image, can mimic in song the sounds it has heard. And the bird started wailing. Wow, said Akimi, that sounds exactly like a police siren. Yo, said Miguel, freaky. To learn more, said Audubon, be sure to read Bird Songs, Warbles, and Whistles, written by Dr. Diana Victoria Garcia, with classic illustrations by moi. With that, Audubon sat down on a camp stool. An easel appeared, the blackbird struck a pose, and the outdoorsy artist started painting the bird's portrait while humming Blackbird by the Beatles. Okay, said Kyle, this is the strangest clue yet. Well, here's the book at least, said Sierra, who had found 598.367 on the shelf. So what do a blackbird's wails and warbles have to do with finding our way out of the library, said Akimi. Just then they heard a very different sound. Behind one of the bookcases, something growled and then roared. Did you guys hear that, said Sierra. Yes, said Akimi. I don't think it's a robin red-breasted bird. A very rare white Bengal tiger with icy blue eyeballs crept out from behind a wall of bookshelves and stalked into the open area where Audubon sat painting his bird portrait. Is that another hologram? Asked Miguel. No one stuck around to find out. Chapter 36. Down the first floor, Charles and Andrew were working their way around the semicircle of the 3-story tall floor-to-dome bookcases filled with fiction. It was nearly 8 p.m. "We need to find that blasted book," said Charles, craning his neck to study the shelves. "I'm getting kind of hungry," mumbled Andrew. "You had a snack this afternoon," snapped Charles. "Well, now it's time for dinner." "No, we need to find Anne of Green Gables first." The classic by Lucy Maud Montgomery was the middle book on the top shelf in the staff picks display case. So far, Charles, Haley, and Andrew had not been able to find it anywhere in the library. "Unfortunately," said Andrew, "they've temporarily erased the book's call number from the database." "So we wouldn't know what to punch into the hover ladder's control panel," grumbled Charles. "Actually," said Andrew, "they might have shelved it in the children's room. Or maybe the 800s with literature. Could be in the 400s too, because it was originally written in Canadian, which technically is a foreign language." "So you've said, Andrew, repeatedly, but we've already searched the other locations several times. It has to be here with the other fiction titles. You just need to fly up and find it." "Well," said Andrew, "I'm kind of afraid of heights." "Fine, whatever. I'll go up and grab it, but you have to give me some kind of call number to enter in the hover ladder." Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote other Anne books. There's Anne of Avonlea. Charles dashed over to the nearest library table and swiped his fingers across the glass face of its built-in computer iPad. "Here we go. Anne of Avonlea by Lucy Maud Montgomery. F. Munn." "Yes," said Andrew. "Fiction books are usually put on the shelf in alphabetical order by the author's last name. Non-fiction titles are classified according to the Dewey Decimal System." "How long have you known this?" Andrew's nose twitched. "Since 2nd grade. Boys and girls, do you recognize that when you're looking for fiction books, our library is organized by the author's last name. That's why on those books, some of the bookcases, there's letters. And then the non-fiction books are located on that kind of that back wall of the library and around the outside edge of the library. And those all have the call numbers, like the Dewey Decimal System call numbers. "So, all we ever needed was F. Munn? We could have found this book hours ago." Andrew gulped. "You're such a disappointment." Shaking his head, Charles huffed over to one of the hover ladders. He quickly jabbed F, M, O, and N into the keypad. The boot clamps locked into place around his ankles. "You owe me for wasting all this time, Andrew. You owe me big time. If you let me down once more, I swear I'll tell everybody you're a big blubbering baby. I'll Twitter it and post it on Facebook." "Don't worry. I'll make you glad you picked me for your team, Charles. I promise." The hover ladder lifted off the floor and gently glided up to the M section of the fiction wall. Shuttling sideways, it carried Charles over to a shelf displaying all the Anne books. He grabbed a copy of Anne of Green Gables. As soon as he did, the ladder started its slow descent to the floor. "What did you find?" asked Andrew when Charles landed. "The clue we needed." He showed Andrew the card that had been tucked inside the front cover. C plus Anne. Do you think that's Anne? Can. "Okay," said Andrew. "It's C plus hat. So the word is chat, which, by the way, could also be chat, the French word for cat." "Well done, Andrew," said Charles, even though he knew the clue was really C plus Anne equaling can, thereby making the puzzle, "You can walk out the way blank blank in past blank." The way what did what, he wondered, and what does in mean? Charles desperately needed to find the 3 missing pictograms. Suddenly, Mr. Lemoncello's voice boomed out of speakers ringing in the rotunda. "Hey, Charles! Hey, Andrew! Hey! Let's do a deal!" Game show music blared. A canned crowd cheered. Charles turned around and saw shafts of colored light illuminating 3 envelopes perched on top of the librarian's round desk. Clarence, the security guard, marched into the reading room and, folding his arms over his chest, took up a position near the 3 envelopes. "We have a green envelope, a blue envelope, and a red envelope," said Mr. Lemoncello. "In 2 of those 3 envelopes are copies of 2 of the 3 pictogram clues you still need. In one, there's a clunker card. If you pick an envelope with a clue, you get to keep it, and you get to keep going. But once you pick the clunker card, you're done, and you must suffer the consequences." Andrew raised his hand. "Yes, Andrew." What are the consequences? Something bad, said Mr. Lemoncello. In fact, something wicked this way will probably come. Do you want to do a deal? Yes, said Charles. The canned audience cheered. All right, then. Charles, you roll first. Pardon? Swipe your fingers across the nearest desktop computer panel. The Dice Tumbler app is up and running. Again, the pre-recorded audience cheered. They sounded like they loved watching dice tumble more than anything in the world. Charles slid his fingers across a glass pane. The animated dice rolled. "Ooh!" cried Mr. Lemoncello. "Double sixes. That gives you a 12. Is that good, sir?" "Maybe, maybe not." "Okay, Andrew, your turn." Peckelman tapped the glass. The dice flipped over. "Another set of doubles," said Mr. Lemoncello. "Yeah," muttered Charles. "Two ones, snake eyes." "Is that bad?" asked Andrew. "Maybe," said Mr. Lemoncello. "Maybe not. Okay, guys, which envelope would you like to open?" Charles thought about it while TikTok music played. They were given this chance to play Let's Do a Deal after they had located the Anne of Green Gables clue. Coincidence? He didn't think so. We'll take the green, sir." Clarence presented the green envelope to Charles. "Open it," said Andrew. Open it. Charles did this, pulled out a card. A loud zonk rocked the room. The card was blank, with blocky white. "Uh-oh," mumbled Andrew. "What does it say on that card?" "So kids, you're out," read Charles. "So out of doors, you're all now stuck." Clarence picked up the blue and red envelopes and marched back toward the entrance hall. "What's that mean?" said Andrew. "Well," said Mr. Lemoncello, "Charles rolled a 12 and you rolled a 2. What's 12 plus 2? 14, said Charles eagerly. He owed math when to remember the smartest kid in the class. Said Mr. Lemoncello. "That is not good. In fact, I'd say it's stinkerific." "Stinkerific," said Is that a word? "It is now," said Mr. Lemoncello. "JJ lost." An authoritative out of the speakers. "Warning! Due to a clunker card, all 10 Dewey Decimal doors will lock in 10 at exactly 8 o'clock. If you are in those rooms, kindly leave immediately. 10 doors on the side remain locked for 14 hours. You're panic. What hours? I do 12 plus 2 was bad, Mr. Lemoncello. Of course, it could if it picked up envelope. You would receive an 18-month subscription to Library Journal. Charles did some quick math. "Sir, does this mean we'll be locked at 7 o'clock tomorrow?" Bingo! Oh, it does. That stinks. Why, we need those students to puzzle. Clerk same 14 penalties. Charles to block out his rants. He needed to think, and then it hit him. Al Keeley's been working on some solutions. How to escape. Otherwise, Charles and his team wouldn't have been able to find the clues they'd done. Surely, if Keeley's team had been playing the same memory match game, they would have found at least one of the programs Charles Andrew did. They must be working on a completely different angle. Charles was said if he could use this downtime to learn what Keeley and his team had in their meeting room and combine it with a picture puzzle, he would emerge from the library victorious. "Do not despair, Andrew," Charles said confidently. "We are still going to win." How? Charles leaned in and cupped a hand around his mouth so security cameras could read his lips. "Remember," he whispered, "you need to pay me back for wasting a ton of time in finding Anne of Green Gables." "What? You're the one with that stupid green envelope with the stupid clunker card." Charles narrowed his eyes and chilled his hushed voice. "So?" Nothing, said Andrew nervously. "Just thought I'd point it out." Charles turned his eyes into blue ice. "So," whispered Andrew. "So," whispered Andrew, swallowing hard. "What exactly do you want me to do?" "Find a way to sneak into community meeting room B." Andrew wheezed in a panic. "That's impossible!" "Don't worry, I have an idea." "What is it?" 2 words. Sierra Russell. Chapter 37. "Ever wonder if this could get any worse?" said Akimi. "Because it couldn't." "Yo, none of us pulled a clunker card," groused Miguel. "That means somebody on Charles' team did it." "Akimi and Miguel are right, Kyle," said Sierra. "This really isn't fair." "I know," was all Kyle could say, but it's like in Mr. Lemoncello's Family Frenzy, where one player pulls the orthodontist card and everybody has to move back 7 spaces to buy their kids braces. Kyle and his teammates were back in community meeting room B. They'd been staring at the clue board, wondering what a wailing blackbird has to do with Willy Wonka and the Ten Commandments, not to mention that long list of books and all the statues, when the voice in the ceiling made its announcement about the Dewey Decimal System, about the Dewey Decimal doors being locked for 14 hours. Well, Mr. Lemoncello better have a good reason, said Akimi. Oh, I do, said Mr. Lemoncello. His face appeared on one of the meeting room walls, which was really a giant plasma screen video monitor. Team Kyle is not being penalized for Team Charles' blunder, he said. Far from it. In fact, you are being rewarded. Akimi arched her eyebrows in disbelief. Really? How? The other team's penalty gives you a wrinkle in time. A wrinkle in time, said Kyle. Is that a clue? No, it's a book. And sometimes, Kyle, a book is just a book. But thanks to the clunker card, you have the gift of wrinkled time to seek clues outside the 10 Dewey Decimal rooms. Speaking of time, a magazine available in our periodical section, it's dinner time. So the game is basically suspended until 10 o'clock tomorrow, said Kyle. Well, Kyle, that's up to you. You can use this time as a bonus to think, read, and explore. Or you can run upstairs and play video games all night long. The choice is yours. We want to win this game, said Kyle. His teammates nodded in agreement. Wondermus, said Mr. Lemoncello. Keep working the puzzle, but try to avoid Mrs. Basil E. Frank Wiles' files. They are all mixed up. And before you turn in this evening, you might want to spend some time curled up with a good book. They just said the book rooms are locked, said Akimi. The nice lady in the ceiling was only talking about the 10 Dewey Decimal rooms. There's plenty of first-class fiction in the Rotunda reading room. Dr. Zinchenko has even selected 7 books specifically for our 7 remaining contestants. After dinner, you'll find those books on her desk. When he said that, Mr. Lemoncello started winking. I think you'll find the books to be very enlightening, inspirational even. And then he winked some more. Why do you think Mr. Lemoncello is winking like that? Is he giving Team Kyle Keeley another clue? And now I must return to my side of the mountain. See you in the morning, children. I have great expectations for you all. Boys and girls, there's a lot of books being mentioned here by Mr. Lemoncello. Okay, Mr. Lemoncello's image disappeared from the wall. Akimi said, okay, from the way Mr. Lemoncello was just winking, either somebody kicked a bucket of sand in his face or our recommended reading list is another clue. On the other side of the rotunda, Charles huddled with Andrew in meeting room A. I don't trust Haley, he said. Why not? Charles put his hand on Andrew's shoulder. Well, my friend, I'm not sure if I tell you this, but Haley told me she didn't think you were handsome enough to appear in Mr. Lemoncello's holiday commercials with us when we win. Because of my glasses? Charles bit his lip, nodded. Of course, I totally disagree. I see, said Andrew, his ears burning bright red. And she doesn't get to see what we found in that Anne of Green Gables book. Very well, Andrew, if that's how you want to play it. You bet I do. Fine, let's go see what's for dinner. I'm starving. When Charles and Andrew entered the cafe, the Keeley team was already inside filling their trays. Hey, way to go, Charles, joked Miguel Fernandez. You guys pulled a clunker card. Indeed we did. However, not even that bit of bad luck can derail our juggernaut. Huh? Said Akimi. He means we're still going to win, said Andrew. Charles and Andrew crossed to the far side of the room to join Haley, who was sitting in a corner. You guys find any clues this afternoon, she asked. Sadly, no, said Charles. All we found was that door locking penalty, said Andrew. All we found was that door locking penalty, said Andrew, who could lie almost as well as Charles. How about you, Haley? Charles asked. Find anything interesting? Nope, nada. Then she yawned and finished her dinner. I think I'll head upstairs and sack out. Really? It's only 8:48. I know, but I'm totally pooped. She yawned again. Plus, I want to be up bright and early before the Dewey Decimal doors reopen. We have more clues to find. See you guys tomorrow, unless we have more team business to discuss? No, nothing. And she walked out of the cafe.